October 4, 2017 by Joe Saward Formula One calendars are complicated animals, trying to satisfy people with conflicting demands. The F1 teams want to pair races and save money and reduce the human damage of travel, while the race promoters want to have their own space, without having to compete with other races for customers. They also have specific demands to either include holiday weekends, or to avoid them, depending on the holiday. There is also the question of other sporting events that are best avoided, which is why in 2018 we have a triple header, because it is the only way to avoid the FIFA World Cup. In the old days this did not matter so much, but today people are more mobile and you need bigger distances between races to avoid overlaps. This is why Bobby Epstein of the Circuit of the Americas in Austin is saying that he wants the Mexican Grand Prix moved to give the United States Grand Prix a bit more space. Epstein argues that if the two races were more spread out, more people might attend both and sponsors might activate more at each event, rather than having to choose between the two. It is a fair point. There are 1,000 miles between the two Grand Prix, but that is only 2.5 hours in a plane. Epstein says that Mexico should be twinned with Montreal in June. That would mean 3,000 miles between venues, or 6 hours flying, the same sorts of gap as between the ongoing Malaysia-Japan back-to-back. This could be managed fairly easily. A race in June in Mexico City would mean hotter temperatures and much more rainfall than in October. But the Mexicans want to have their race tied to the Dia de los Muertos holiday weekend, which means it attracts more spectators. The irony is that it might be more sensible to move Austin to be twinned with Montreal. The U.S. Grand Prix is not linked to any particular national holiday. There is 1,600 miles between Montreal and Austin, about 3.5 hours flying. Temperatures in June in Texas are higher than in October, but not excessively so, although there is more rain at that time of year. When you add in the fact that the Austin race currently takes place in the NFL season, which runs from early September until the Super Bowl in February, the current date is not as logical as it might seem. The NFL is the 800-pound gorilla of the U.S. sporting world, and if you want people to watch your show on TV, it is best not to go up against them. This is why the IndyCar seasons now stops in mid-September. This year, for example, there are more than a dozen NFL games on the same day as the United States Grand Prix, including the Dallas Cowboys playing the San Francisco 49ers, which kicks off in California at 1 p.m., so is a direct clash with the Grand Prix in Austin. Luckily, the Houston Texans have the weekend off. However, if the race was held in June, there would be no NFL problem, and race could even be tied to the Solstice Festival, when Austin hosts concerts at multiple venues. Sometimes what we wish for is not what we really want. I've been hanging out in low places for long enough to know Garth Brooks, and I think his advice in these matters is worth listening to even if he does come from Oklahoma. Sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers. Remember when you're talking to the man upstairs that just because he doesn't answer, doesn't mean he don't care. Some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers.